How's it going, guys? It's your boy, Omi. So I just finished watching Fantastic Four First Steps. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was a good movie. I This is like my first impressions. I'm just gonna review it. Gonna go through a couple things. I'm just gonna go through like the character, the powers, and like the story, and then like some future stuff. Kind of how I just my opinions and how I see the story progressing or the MCU progressing. So, first off, I'd just like to say that this movie was really well done. The casting was convincing. The direction, amazing. Aesthetic and like set design was top tier. I'd probably say my favorite in like for the year. It was that like 50s futuristic aesthetic. They really translated that from like the comic books to like real life or live action quite well, and didn't feel jarring. It didn't feel like anything was uncanny or it was just like out of place. It felt very natural, and even everybody's reaction was kind of just very like neutral to everything. So it was really cool. Uh, Quickly, I just want to say like my favorite character was definitely Johnny. I'll probably get into that a little bit later. I've never I don't recognize this actor from anything in recent time. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm terrible with actors' names. I know Pedro Pascal because of course the guy's in he's in everything. Um, but before I even get ahead of myself, let's just go quickly through the characters. Obviously, you know the Fantastic Four. We've seen a few different iterations that were not so great. I think I think they aged okay. I think that honestly, if there was an MCU back in the day, at that point in time, I think that would have been probably one of the better movies, and it would have probably transitioned really well into like um, an Iron Man or any of the earlier Marvel movies. Anyways, so we got Reed Richards. Reed Richards, the smartest man in Marvel, I'd say in the Marvel universe, arguably the smartest man in the Marvel universe. Um, in my opinion, I would say the smartest in this movie. De facto smartest. Like it was kind. He brought that sort of autistic energy that I kind of expected. It was a little different than what we've seen from um other depictions of like very smart or genius level intellects in the MCU, like a Bruce Banner, like a Tony Stark, where they're a bit more humanized. They're a bit more emotion. Tony Stark is, of course, we all know him. So in this case, it was just a extremely intelligent, extremely like morally good person, or like at least tries to be morally good. I feel like when it's like a gift and a curse when you have that sort of intelligence or that level of intelligence. I'll get into that later when I talk about Sue Storm, but he seems to get ahead of himself sometimes just because of how smart he is, which I really like that they show. Because if 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 we know anything from the comics, Reed Richards is like a victim of his genius. Like he is legitimately the like sometimes he just cannot help himself. Anyways, I think in this so far for this first movie depicted really well. We didn't get any backstory or anything like that. We didn't need it. It's just like we got that sort of maternal. I know everybody's like, oh, that dad energy, which we did get. He was around a lot of kids. He was a good role model. They showed that early in the movie, and obviously a good father figure. So um, great all around. I'll get into like his powers and stuff a little bit later, but obviously we know he has stretchy abilities because of the radiation or the radiation flash when they were in space. Um, Great. I'm trying to think of what else I really liked about Reed. Yeah, I really like they that was just really well depicted, really well acted, and I'm excited to see the future. Next, we're going to go into Sue Storm. Sue Storm, awesome. She is the perfect contrast for Reed Richards. Like, while Reed has the technical intelligence, Sue seems to have that emotional intelligence to sort of to counteract that, and it really shows because I just there was this one scene that I really liked. By the way, I'm going to be spoiling. There was this one scene where they were essentially he was going through the probabilities of when they had to give or if they had to give up Franklin Richards their baby to Galactus or not, and there was definitely some probabilities in which there's definitely some possibilities in which they would have to give up that baby, and Sue knows that Reed definitely has considered it, and she's like she has to like hold herself back from like crashing out on him, and it's actually really awesome. I really like that moment. I feel like that was a very like motherly uh very I feel like a lot of moms are gonna like that, you know. um Speaking of mother, she is the obviously giving birth throughout this movie to Franklin Richards, who we know is like an Omega level like nah, what is he? Is he a mutant? I'm not even sure. I think he's a mutant, but he's essentially one of the most powerful beings in all of Marvel, and they just gave birth to him. So it was really awesome. That scene, the scene in which they do give birth to him, which I will go into once I talk about the story a bit. Um, Really awesome. I think that like the MCU just introduced their most powerful MacGuffin in that they've ever had. So that's awesome. Sue is very I don't know the actress's name, but she did a bang up job. Was such a Had such a natural sort of dynamic with Reed. It was just very convincing that they were the mother and father, and this is the family of the first family of Marvel. You know, so really awesome. I loved the interactions. It felt really natural. Even her and Johnny were it was really natural, of course, because of just the sibling interactions. It was just really awesome, really nice, really clean, really cool. Next, I'm gonna go into Johnny. That just kind of transitions me really nicely. Johnny was, I think, done the best. And I know everybody's like, "Hey, he's not like the usual ladies' man, quippy, like kind of like jackass self." He's They just toned a lot of that energy down, and I really like that. They concentrated on making him a bit more of like the best support character they can possibly make him, you know, where he has his little side plot and he has his little side goals, but at the end of the day it contributes to the grand scheme of things. And I really really like that because it shows a sense of individuality amongst the group, and without Johnny being like argumentative or him being like trying to be like, "Oh, I'm better than you, Reed," or whatever, trying to show up anybody. He's just like, "Hey, I don't need you guys. I don't need your help. I can do it on my own." And he does it on his own. And not only does he do it on his own, he consistently brings it up, by the way, because of course he's the youngest of the group. He's going to be like, "Hey guys, look at what I'm doing." And everybody kind of just talks him down every time until he actually shows out and it's useful. And I think it was really satisfying for not only the viewer but also the character and also the actor. It was you can see the satisfaction in like the overall like the conclusion in that plot thread, you know. um Now I'm gonna go into the actor. I once again I don't know if I recognize him from anything recent, but he did a bang up job. They did early in the movie. They didn't give him many lines, which was I found kind of weird. They kind of kept him quite quiet, and I was like, okay, that's a little bit weird. But later on, they gave him a bit more speaking lines to kind of to sort of to compensate. There it is. Next, Ben. I think they did Ben really well. The CG was well done. I like Cousin from The Bear. I like his voice. He fits it very well. One thing about me that I didn't like though was the reluctancy to get like not get active, because he was throwing them paws, like he was fighting and stuff, but he just wasn't like they were a few times where, of course, I know that everyone's telling, oh, do the thing, say the thing, say the phrase, it's clobbering time. And he was just reluctant to say it throughout the whole time, which I found really annoying. I was like, bro, it's either you say, like, my thing is, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm going to complain about it some more later on, but I'm going to complain about it now because that's just how I feel. Yo, do not make him say these things reluctantly, or make him or force the character to say those kinds. You want that's a hype up phrase. Anytime I've read it in the comics, it's not like he's like reluctantly saying it. It's like, oh, when he's about to get active, when he's about to fight and he's getting riled up, he's like, it's clobbering time. Like, I'm about to fight. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear do the thing, say it, and he's like, I guess, claws clobbering time. It's like, bro, it's not satisfying. It's I found it more corny that he had to get forced to do it than if he were to actually just say it naturally by himself. I thought that was really weird. But that was just my opinion. I don't know how people feel about that. But other than that, I know a lot of people are also complaining about how he didn't get a lot of spotlight. I think there's a lot of room for that. We all kind of seen the insecurity with the Michael Chiklis depiction of the thing, and we got 2 movies worth, 3 movies worth of that origin story. I think I'm kind of done with that. I like the fact that everybody kind of is just okay with that. It's not showing that he's incapable of talking to anybody. He's entertaining kids. He's talking to ladies. He just, he's relatively isolated still. It's still only 4 years. It, that's not even a fraction of the life that they already have lived. So I think that it's going to take some time, and we're going to see more characterization and more development in the future movies. Like, I definitely think there's going to be sequels. So, like, I'm in no rush for this. Now I went through all the characters. I am gonna go through their powers. Reed Richards, dude. First of all, obviously, the stretchy abilities. I'm not even gonna count that as a superpower, bro. That it was so underwhelming in this movie that, like, I know the Western audience do not like stretchy things. They like he just doesn't. His abilities just don't translate well for a lot of audiences, and I think that's fine. But as a person who enjoys like those stretchy abilities and can see the potential in what they can do, like especially with like Jonathan Hickman's run and a lot of other comic book depictions of like Reed Richards, where he's like, I can use my genius level intellect and I can use my stretchy abilities to do like really really crazy shit. Dude, Galactus was stretching him out like freaking silly putty, dude. Pause. That sounds crazy, but the dude was, and not only that, he wasn't like Reed can't even stretch like he can't even stretch a kilometer. Like, no, maybe a kilometer. Maybe he can stretch a kilometer, but he can't. Like, dude, Galactus wasn't even doing an arm's length stretch. He wasn't even doing an arm's length, and Reed was like ripping out his damn costume. And he was screaming. I was like, what is that? Like, lock in, man. Like, tighten up, get better. Like, you gotta get better at this. Once again, I know it's only 4 years, but hey, he is too smart for that. So what I'm gonna say is the genius level intellect is his superpower in this movie, because they built some crazy shit. Or he was able to just do some crazy intelligence feats in this movie, like things that it took so many movies for freaking Iron Man to do, for freaking Ben to, for not Ben to do, for yeah, Bruce to do. For them to even do a little bit of time travel, a little bit of freaking quantum travel, they were like struggling. Dude, Reed is casually doing this. Speed of light travel, navigating the galaxy, like freaking he's like legit monitoring like different universes and different galaxies and stuff. It's crazy. Like he is, or sorry, different galaxies, not different universes. Maybe different universes. Who's to say? It's neither here nor there. That is, I think, the most impressive thing in one of the most impressive things in all of Marvel. Just is like how casually they were pulling these things off. Um, so I think that that was really cool. I really like that. I'm trying to think of what else he had. Yeah, everything else is kind of just average. I would say like his intelligence is the obviously the biggest part of his character here. Next, I'm gonna go Sue Storm. Sue had I man, they gave Sue a ridiculous feat. They gave her a feat that I don't even know if Sue Storm in like the comic books can do that. Sue was in the end of the movie. I know she kind of sacrificed herself low key, but she was able to like push back, like freeze Galactus long enough for Reed to get Franklin out of his hands. Then not only that, push him like a few kilometers, like relative to his size. Like he was stomping backwards a couple blocks. Like she was able to push him single handedly while Ben and freaking Reed and Johnny were just damn ball watching. They were just watching her do her thing. Like she was literally single handedly pushing him into the portal that went to the edge of their universe. So I was like, "Are you? I've never seen Sue Storm do anything like that. She was pushing Galactus, a freaking celestial, a damn like celestial being, bro. It's actually crazy that she was able to do that. I think that that was probably one of the most impressive things that I've seen. Once again in Marvel, that's like when I saw Captain America catch freaking Mjolnir. I was like, oh man, that's crazy. When I saw this, I was like, what the what am I watching right now? There's no Thor. I think Thor would have trouble with this. Who the? Why is goddamn? And he's a god. Why is Sue Storm this crazy OP? Anyways, I just thought that was a ridiculous feat. But I guess she died at the end. Franklin kind of revived her, which goes to show how powerful he is. Even as a baby, was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna, oop, live. You're back to life, mom. Um, Now I'm trying to think of what else. She has the obviously the invisibility. Invisibility. I there was this one time that I found invisibility to be really funny because I was like, invisibility doesn't mean you like like your presence disappears. Like unless I'm mistaken, unless it's actually like your presence does disappear, then that's really like otherwise it's really funny because when they were doing like a UN, they were doing like a United Nations, like a summit or something like that, and there was somebody that was trying to approach Sue, and she was dead ass like right in front of the dude, and she just disappeared, like she went invisible, and they were like, "What the? Where'd she go?" And I was like, I just started laughing. I was like, "What do you mean?" Dude, she was right in front of you. Like, just stick your hand out, my guy. I just, even now, I just find that really funny. Anyways, now I'm going to get to Johnny. Johnny was amazing. I think the way that they used his abilities was the best I'd say, honestly, like, okay, I'll give you a good example of just good fire manipulation when in the very beginning of the movie, instead of seeing Johnny like show out and like fighting a bunch of guys and like burning stuff, we see Johnny like saving areas and like being a hero and one of like he just being someone that is not like you don't see fire in an aggressive light. You see it more in like a like a path of like help, like a path of salvation. Like you see at one point there's firefighters that are trying to take out a fire and he just absorbs the fire. He just absorbs it himself instead of and it's really cool to see that instead of someone like emanating it a bunch. Like I just love the fact that he can manipulate fire to that extent. Um he obviously is like super fast, almost able to like keep up with freaking uh the Herald, who is like, oh my gosh, like bro, she was like surfing on a freaking on a black hole, bro. kind of crazy, but we'll get to her in a bit. Very, very cool character. Johnny, in terms of like just fire manipulation, I think that he was top tier. I think that in terms of like combat ability, he was okay. He kind of just relied on his flight. He didn't really fight too much, um, which is fair. I wasn't expecting him to be like Ip Man and some crazy shit, but he was more of a support role throughout all of this movie. Even when he was playing, like even when he was like at the gunner position when they were like getting chased by Harold, he was like he was helping, but it was only just a support role. Like he was only kind of just helping to a certain extent, you know. Um, and now, lastly, we're gonna go to Ben Grimm. Ben Grimm, I think my favorite part about him, and I think the best sort of feat for him was his piloting ability. Like it that is so underrated. Oh my goodness gracious. The dude was casually just like traveling around a black hole. He was like while getting chased down by Harold and by freaking Galactus. Dude was navigating around a bunch of different like debris around once again a black hole while also trying to keep it stable enough for Sue to give birth. That is a spectacular feat. A spectacular, spectacular feat. I think that was really the highlight for his character. Um, and it really kind of goes to show, like Reed even says in the movie, like best pilot in the on Earth. And I agree. I think that that's like a perfect example of showing that he is the best pilot in the verse. Um, I've yet to see anybody have a feat like that. That's not like a celestial level being. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just a regular guy. In terms of like combat, he was okay. He's a rock guy. He's strong. You know what I'm saying? He punches, he kicks, he turns into a big old rock ball. Um, yeah, that's as much as like you can say about that. I'm gonna go next to. I'm gonna go to Harold rather than Galactus. Harold was really, really, really cool. I like that they didn't bring in Silver Surfer. I like that. I forget what her name is in the movie, but this is essentially Silver Surfer before Silver Surfer, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm really happy that they didn't, especially with how they ended off the character or how they ended that sort of character arc. I'm happy that it wasn't the actual Silver Surfer because that gives room for actual Silver Surfer to come into the story and the plot line. And I think that's really exciting. Anyways, now I'd like to bring up the fact that this character, as powerful as they were, almost got kind of talk no jutsu'd by Johnny. And when I say talk no jutsu'd, I mean like they have already destroyed probably hundreds of different planets at this point. So I get that Johnny was able to essentially understand her language and reverse engineer that and stoop down to her level or kind of get down to her level. But at the end of the day, it was such a quick interaction where Johnny was like, "Hey, you shouldn't destroy Earth because you sacrifice yourself for your planet, right? Like, think we're also trying to sacrifice ourselves. You know what I'm saying?" And he obviously Johnny tries to sacrifice himself. He tries to say, "Just take me instead." And she gives him the realness and saying, "Hey, dude, respectfully, you're just not powerful enough. You're just not relevant enough. You're not that guy. That baby is though." And I think that that was as compelling as it was. I think that there could have been some room to breathe. And honestly, that's there's no excuse here. The reason being is because this is a pretty short movie. Even though it's concise, like I think it's like an hour, almost like 2 hours long. Even though it's concise, I would have that extra 15-20 minutes could have done y'all some could have made this from a good movie to a freaking really good movie. You know what I'm saying? Um Anyways, that's a little bit of a gripe, but Silver Surfer overall, like in terms of combat, a freak so cool, so freaking saucy. That board is so drippy. Oh my gosh, it's right. You can see her freaking gliding on off of stars and shit, and freaking like you see the making her making waves out of a black hole. It's just ridiculous shit. So cool, so cool. Can phase through anything. Just man, they just did like the design and the animation for that was just like top tier. Uh, and lastly, Galactus, dude, menacing, terrifying, freaking cool, and obviously like god tier, like a very 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 intimidating being. You know, something you can't really fathom, you can't really comprehend as a human. You see Reed and like the group when they see Galactus's like face, they're they kind of just don't even know what they're looking at, which is like kind of I like the actors kind of showed out at that point. They showed that it's like you're looking at like a godly being. You're looking at something that is kind of beyond human comprehension, and you're kind of forced to just sort of cope with it like immediately. Um, so that was really cool. I think that when he got to Earth it was really cool, kind of like a big old kaiju, like look like damn Godzilla with Godzilla Transformer. It was actually really really cool. One little gripe that I did have is that I wish he had a bit more speaking lines. Like at one point when he was getting out of that sort of out of his chair, it they were doing some really cool sort of animations and like he looked like a damn like Megatron getting out of a dang transforming. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like a bunch of like bits and doodads hopping off of him, and it looked cool. But I wish that during that time he was kind of giving exposition for the future of the MCU. You know what I'm saying? Like this is at the end of the day, Galactus is of the higher echelon in the Marvel universe. It would be cool if he gave like little inklings of like, oh, this Franklin Richards is going to have this sort of effect on the universe, or this sort of universe, or these guys are going to be able to do impact something, or like there's going to be some sort of cataclysmic event. It would have been cool if if he had some sort of idea of what was going on. It kind of seemed like he was just like some old senile, like, oh, I'm starving, give me food, give me baby, give me food. And I didn't like that shit was weird. Even though of course at the end of the day, like I'm gonna give him like the benefit of the doubt. Like he's still like they reserve some speaking lines because of just how intimidating he is without this any speaking lines. uh that regardless, really cool. It was just a minor gripe on my end, but I think that overall, really scary, really cool. They have potential to reintroduce him. Like they can bring him in at any point. You know what I'm saying? Not that he's there, and like there's an actual character design, and we're seeing like an actual real life dude. Like y'all can bring him in whenever. Um, any major events, or if you want to if they want to make any sort of they want to collaborate any or collab on any major event or anything like that, it would be cool for the MCU to bring him back. Anyways, now I'm going to talk about the story. I think overall the story was really well done. It was tight. It essentially was just this it was just the story of protecting Franklin Richards and the birth of Franklin Richards, which obviously, if you don't know who that is essentially, once again, as I mentioned earlier, one of the most powerful beings in all of Marvel. So this is going to be a big time plot device for Marvel on whether they want to reset the universe, on what direction they want to go for the future. Franklin Richards is like the key here. So they had to gracefully roll out his birth. And they did. They are doing a bang up job. They didn't force anything. They didn't make him too OP off the rip. They didn't, like they could have just made him like, they could have been like, "Hey, baby Franklin, just disappear Galactus." And he could have done it, but obviously like we're not at that level yet. So, I think that for what this story was, it was really well done. It's a family story. It's just kind of it's a lot. The story's for the moms. It's definitely for the moms. It's for Pedro Pascal makes it for the moms. I forget what the actress for Sue Storm, but Sue Storm makes it for the moms. Uh, like it's really really sort of heartfelt, and you understand sort of their confliction a lot of the time. You understand a lot of their confliction because the story is, hey, Galactus wants Franklin Richards, but they just gave birth to this baby. They don't want to give this baby up. So and obviously the other side is, if you don't give up that baby, I'm going to eat your planet. So it's sort of that confliction of like the save one, or give away one, kill one to save a million. You know what I mean? Like sacrifice one to save a million. And in this case, it was a confliction because not only is Franklin Richards extremely powerful, but also he's the baby of the protectors of this planet. So I think it was really, really awesome, the way that they progressed this story. And I'm really looking forward to how I am looking forward to how this is going to translate to the new Avengers group. How this dynamic, how this group, this wholesome, very heartfelt group is going to translate with this edgy ass freaking like just dark ass bunch of rebel ass kids ass group. And I don't even know what I just said there, but like it's going to be such a contrast because the new Avengers are so edgy and so freaking like just a bunch of people with trust issues. You know what I'm saying? Like they just have a bunch of people that do not want to collaborate but are collaborating versus with the once again the first family of Marvel, which is like they are family. They see each other as family. So it's just really really cool. I'm really excited to see how they work together and they collaborate. And I think that that's going to be not only really wholesome but also potentially really funny. Uh, so now I just like to get into where I see this story going. I definitely see a sequel. Fantastic Four is definitely gonna have a sequel. It's whether it's gonna be whether it's gonna be in a few years after like all these major events like Doomsday and all this stuff, or it's going to be like, I don't know, maybe the one of these Avengers movies is gonna revolve around him, around these guys. So it is kind of gonna be a Fantastic Four movie, you know. So either way, I'm excited on whichever route that they take it. I'm excited. I think that the post credit in this movie makes for my anticipation between the dynamic that we're gonna see between Reed and Victor Von Doom. I am like supremely excited because now that I see how Reed is acted and how Reed is going to be depicted in this movie, I want Victor Von Doom to be, and I know Robert Downey Jr. I want I want him to be essentially Iron Man, but ramped up times like a billion trillion, like times like an unfathomable amount. Like he needs to make it so that he is legitimately delusional. He's actually the like I think when you're Doctor Doom is comedically evil. Like he's the most petty person in the Marvel universe. He is one of the most powerful people in the Marvel universe, and he is one of the smartest people in the Marvel universe. So it's just like the complete antithesis to Reed Richards, who is like, I am morally good. I try to be the good guy as much as I can. I know that I know I'm a genius and I have all these things, but I'm gonna be for the good guys. Victor is the opposite. He's like, everything is for me. Everything is mine. This earth should be mine. Everything, this galaxy, this universe, everything that I exist in should be mine. And it's actually like, I want that sort of energy. I don't want no freaking, like, Tony Stark better look like a damn baby compared to Victor Von Doom. He better look like, oh, I'm a playboy philanthropist. I'm a genius. Victor better be like, I am that nigga. I am the GOAT. Don't ever look at me ever in your life. I will crunch on you. I will legitimately shit on you. It's like, I need that sort of energy, like where he's the condescending asshole. I know I'm getting riled up, but Victor Von Doom, Doctor Doom, is my favorite villain in all of Marvel, and I need them to play some MF Doom as soon as as soon as he makes an appearance. They better play some MF Doom in the background, and he better be whooping ass, bro. He better come out whooping ass. Anyways, just to wheel myself back a second, he is in the post credit scene. They show that he's holding Franklin Richards. I think that obviously he's most likely gonna kidnap Franklin Richards, and that's gonna be the trigger for Doomsday. Um, I think he's most likely gonna be using Franklin Richards' abilities for his own gain. Then eventually he's gonna be like, Victor is like a perfect mix of like magic and science, and I think that he's most likely gonna use Franklin to get some power, some sort of ability for him to get boosted up. So I'm really excited for whatever's going to happen there. But I really do think that Franklin is going to be kidnapped and probably transferred to another universe, and the chase, and essentially it's I don't know whether it's Doomsday or whether it's the new Avengers, or sorry, Doomsday or Secret Wars, but I think one of those movies is going to be essentially just a chase movie where they have to essentially travel to different universes, almost like Endgame or almost like Infinity War, um, but essentially almost with just with a different cast, just with a completely different group. They're kind of traveling in a different manner. I think that the time travel or the universal travel should be a bit more casual this go around, where they're not sacrificing people, and they don't gotta stay within the confines of like a timeline or anything like that. I just want them to travel through the multiverse, so sort of like the multiverse of madness, but I want the full cast of the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, and whoever else they can add. I think that'll be a really cool movie. But I do think that's why they make an appearance in the post credit scene in the Thunderbolts. I think that the Thunderbolts are in a different universe. They are essentially they are traveling to different universes that have extremely strong beings that they essentially, wherever they can get like power signatures, wherever they can see, oh, there's a surge of power here, we're going to travel to this universe and we're going to see if Victor Von Doom is here or Franklin Richards is here. I think the trigger for them was obviously Sentry. Sentry is like a fucking another Omega level being. He is once again one of the most powerful beings in all of Marvel. So I think that them probably tracking that, they went there. They were like, "Hey, what's going on in here?" and then they're probably going to collaborate with these guys to get Franklin Richards. So I am really excited for that because that's a pretty star-studded cast. I think that I'm really anticipating for how Robert Downey Jr. is going to be depicting Doctor Doom. I'm really excited. I think once again, comedically evil. He needs to just be an asshole, for lack of a better word. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to think. This movie reminded me a lot of the first Avengers movie. The first Avengers movie, in terms of like the scale and like the aesthetic and like the establishment of like the universe, but it also kind of reminded me of the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, which is high praise because that's my favorite Marvel movie ever. Um, so I think that overall, I'm trying to think of like a rating out of 10. I would say like a solid 7, 7 and 7.5. It's a good movie, enjoyable movie. You don't need to know too much about the Marvel verse to just enjoy it. It kind of you left you wanting more. It left you wanting more, and I'm really anticipating what Marvel has for the future. All right, y'all. That's it. Take it easy. Bye bye.